Okay. So welcome to um, the StarlingX PTG. The so I think as everybody knows, we do these every 6 months just to kind of get everybody together and discuss some key topics. I'm sharing the Etherpad that we've used for kind of planning the agenda, but we'll also use this for the minutes. I've got the Ethernet URL right there. You're encouraged to kind of connect to that Etherpad and add your name to the attendees list. The slide, actually, I'm not sure if I for the Google Slides folders, we accidentally ended up having two created. I created.
No, we don't have to, Greg. It's
Oh,
just it's just one was for the October one and one was for the April one.
okay.
So I don't know like I mean the links may be pointing to the wrong thing, but there's only one. I can fix the Etherpad here just real
Okay,
quick.
sure. Thanks. Okay, so there's a location for slides and presentations. If you haven't put them up there, I encourage you to put them up so we can refer back to them. Other general links, just we've got the mailing list link, the meeting and PTG links are there, although you guys probably know that because you're here already. Um, and we'll share the recording afterwards on this Etherpad. So as far as the agenda, we I was going to do a little intro, although I'm scanning through the attendees list here, and I think it's all, I don't see any new people, so maybe I'll skip the little StarlingX intro. I was just going to kind of let any new people know kind of what we do, but I think everybody here is a regular attendee. I'll leave that in there for anybody that's looking at this. I wanted to review the agenda next, and basically it's sort of our normal agenda. We've got the core item that we always do in these PTGs is to review the status of the different projects within StarlingX. So you guys know that we got, I don't know, like a dozen projects because this is sub-projects because this is kind of a big project. And so we typically always have a kind of a round table of presenters from each of the project just to give a status update on what they accomplished in the last 6 months, what they're looking at in the next 6 months, and any other issues that they want to chat about. So I had the list there, and the one other agenda item that I got was that actually Rob Cook's team have been doing some work on making the StarlingX testing and the StarlingX test framework actually upstream, so that anyone in the community could actually run the StarlingX tests. Previously, the tests and test frameworks had been downstream, and we published all the results upstream, but they've been doing a lot of good work with respect to moving the tests and the test framework upstream. So we'll get an update from them on that. So those were the two big agenda items. I think the first one will take us maybe an hour or something, and then maybe 20 minutes for the second one. Any other agenda items that we wanted to chat about?
Sorry, Greg. We do have two folders, unfortunately.
Okay.
One is in the completely wrong location. I don't know that. Sorry, the one
think,
you created.
I think I created the wrong one.
Like, yeah.
We will merge them after the meeting.
Yeah, I think we'll have to.
Okay, sorry. My bad.
No worries.
Okay, so if nobody has any other agenda items, let's maybe start with doing the project updates. I know Thalis said that he can only stay for the first little bit, so I thought we'd get Thalis to go first. I can stop sharing if you need to share something, Thalis.
Okay, sure. I can share my screen. Then find it here. Are you able to see the presentation already?
Yep, I can see it.
Okay, cool. So, good morning, everyone. Well, at least for me, it's morning. I prepared just a quick review on the StarlingX OpenStack project and what we have been doing lately. So, I mean, just to start, a quick introduction. You guys all know that this project is responsible for maintaining the StarlingX OpenStack containerized application, which is built separately from the StarlingX platform, but can be applied on top of it to provide OpenStack services on top of StarlingX, mainly for virtualization capabilities. So I'm currently the project and the tech lead for this, and I thought of listing all the contributors here because this list is growing with time. So it's nice to see more people contributing with code and code reviews for this project. So I got a list with the latest ones that were merging code there. And I mean, the counter of contributors is still growing. We have a testing which works along with the StarlingX testing, but mainly focused on the OpenStack application. And yes, some information here. There are some links for docs, and usually there is a weekly sanity, which runs Mondays night and tests this application on top of a duplex system running with OVS as the virtual switch. So that said, we delivered, I just put here a brief review on what was delivered in our last StarlingX release. So there was a QEMU version. QEMU is the hypervisor we use for virtualization. And there was some work on Kata container support, which required this up version. So we aligned it since we share the same hypervisor. We aligned our QEMU and our libvirt packages. Another thing we did were some enhancements on the TLS certificates. We were following up some platform security enhancements, and we made the application more flexible to fully qualify domain name configs. So the user can easily override the masks for FQDN and match this with whatever DNS configuration the user has. We started exploring the OpenStack application on subclouds for distributed cloud systems. And there was some doc updates and some bug fixes. So we support the OpenStack application on subclouds right now. It's not supported on the central controller, but on the subclouds it is. And we did a refactor of the Kubernetes daemon sets that we use, mainly because this was a bottleneck for scalability. So we added a clustering logic for our compute nodes based on the hardware configuration that each compute node has. And this enables a better compute node scalability. And what I mean here is we can add more compute nodes and have a system with more compute nodes right now. So this was all done as part of the StarlingX 10 release. And I just left it here for us to remember that until StarlingX 10, the base version for OpenStack that we are delivering was the antelope version, 23.1. And as part of the StarlingX 11, we have a roadmap. And the first feature is actually upversioning our services to the Carcal release, 24.1. And this is actually done already. This is merged on master. So it's the first feature that we delivered as part of the StarlingX 11 cycle. But we will be working on more features during this. So we'll be working on upgrades to ensure that we can have an in-place up version of OpenStack. That is, you can update the application and the OpenStack services version without disruptive of services. We will integrate the OpenStack app with the Rucksack application, which runs on the platform. Currently, we only use the host-based Ceph, but we'll be integrating this. We will reestablish the Open vSwitch, the PDK support. This was something we used to support when StarlingX was CentOS-based. But since the Debian migration, the OVS, the PDK was broken on the host, so we will be fixing that and making it work with OpenStack again. And we will be reestablishing or maybe adding, depending on the service, support for the full OpenStack services on telemetry. So we'll add support to Ceilometer, Gnocchi, and AODH to ensure that our application supports OpenStack default telemetry metrics, and yeah, being more aligned with the OpenStack community. It's a lot to come, but since the number of contributors is growing, we are quite confident that we can deliver this for the StarlingX 11 and start exploring new features on the upcoming releases. That was all that I have for today. Not sure if anyone has questions about this.
I didn't have any questions, but I think it's really good that the team's growing and you know, we're getting some good content in on OpenStack for the next releases. So that's excellent.
Definitely.
Okay. The next one on my list was actually someone from the OS, but I don't see Yu Tao here or anybody else from his team. So let's skip over him. Let's go to the Flock services. Oh, Jim's here. Jim, did you?
Yeah, I can give me a sec. I'll share.
I moved all the slides, by the way. So
Hey, thanks.
yeah, so they're all in the right location now, including yours, Jim. So if you
Oh,
just go to
thank
the
you.
link at the top of the Etherpad, you should find your slides.
Okay. Yeah, I've got it open on my page. I'll share it out. Thank you. Okay. Share away. Here we go. Hopefully everybody can see my screen.
Yeah,
So I'm the project lead for Flock Services. So I'll tell you a little bit about what we did in StarlingX 10, what's coming up for 11. StarlingX 10, I know we had there was a massive lift in what we did around the Unified Software Management story, USM. We had some delays, and that was it was a big piece of work. Very foundational in what we're trying to do over the next couple of years in StarlingX around software management. So that's you know, we've got our first release out. There's more features that we're working on. We'll get to that on the next slide. Some of the stuff we delivered was some work around low latency versus standard kernel, so ability to configure some of that. The upgrade framework support, so that was really some pieces that were required to get the USM work in play, and so we had to do some of that, you know, even deeper in the foundation kind of work around the footings sort of thing. And then some scalability improvements is what we were working on in 10. There's actually some more coming in 11 as well. USM was the big thing. So working on a long overdue blog post that's going out. So hopefully we'll see that by the end of the week. Content's all there. Just gotta get a pull request, and we should see that and give you kind of an overview of what was done there. There was a lot of work around, you know, foundational, as I mentioned, stuff. OS tree is something we adopted back in the StarlingX 9 days. I think 8, maybe even StarlingX 8, as far back as that. And then we're really starting to leverage it in 10, and then more so in 11 and in future releases. So it's one of the key pieces that's going to help make our upgrade times and our patching times faster. So some of the work we've got planned for 11, we had hoped in what we'd planned out for the timeline for 11, we'd hoped to do a full Debian update to Trixie. We still get it on the books. I think it's unlikely that we'll get the whole thing done. So our key focus is on up-versioning Python. We want to make sure we've got that in place. So that's currently in scope and being worked. We're introducing a new package called StarlD. It's really going to help us. It's a package that I believe is currently more RPM based. So we're building a Debian package around that and allowing for some of the configuration to be done. So it just makes it a little easier to configure that package. That really helps with a lot of the real-time applications that you're running. In cases where you've got an application that's running on top of StarlingX that may be consuming a lot of CPU cycles and potentially starving all the way down to the kernel, starving it for housekeeping tasks, StarlD helps us in some way. So as we get that into product as well, I think we'll be probably putting out another post about that. We'll get somebody to write something up, and so if you are running real-time applications, it should be a capability that helps you on that. More platform services, scalability improvements, and so that is as as some of the work that Talus is working on has a dependency on the underlying StarlingX. We want to make sure that the scalability that his team needs is there. And so we're working to make sure we're working closely with that group in the community to make sure we can accommodate that. More USM work that's happening in this release is really focused on rollback. So allowing people to be able to roll back the USM in StarlingX 10 allowed you to roll back for simplex configurations. We're allowing it now for duplex. We allowed rollback only after you got to the host deploy state. Now it's after you've completed the activate state, we're allowing that full rollback. So that's currently in scope. We're also doing some work around kind of the backup and restore area and allowing you to do LVM snapshots. And so that's work that we're looking to do. The goal there is, can we improve that backup and recovery time? So that's really what the core of USM is about, right? Optimize that upgrade time, that patch time. So that's kind of what we're looking at right now. There's some of these will definitely be documentation on it. Some of these I think we'll probably put some blogs out on it too, because I think it helps get people interested and understanding those key areas and the value on why we're actually investing in people's time and putting this out. So yeah, that's about it.
All right. Any questions for Jim on the Flock project? Okay, thanks, Jim.
Yeah.
Okay, next on my list is containers. So I think I saw Michelle here. Yeah, Michelle, did you have
Yeah, I can share quick slides. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I put them in the advertised link. I don't know if they were
It's
moved
just
appropriately.
click on the top. Yeah, they were
I got
moved.
I got my version, so I'm not going to worry. But I just want to make sure
okay.
they got moved.
No,
Thank you.
they did.
Thank you. All right, let me share. Okay. All right, you're seeing a
Yep, we can see them.
slide, the blue slide. All right. All right. So I'm a new PL for containers taking from over from Bruce Jones, and yeah, you're gonna just describe what we do. So this team is really about the TL is Chris Friedzen. We have 9 development, 9 engineers working on him in this area, and really mandate is really about anything related to container and application framework. So we worry a lot about Kubernetes upgrade and maintain our applications and packages required for container packages to be up to date. So and also you'll see we're trying to work on optimization because of our upgrade performance. So that's in general what we do. So all right, so in XTX 10, so what we've done is new versions. We went up to Kubernetes 1.29, and we did updates of Flux CD and Helm, and also KubeVirt. We introduced some performance optimizations. I still need to get full details on that. I'll get Chris Friesen to advertise if people have more questions on the new functionality and where we went, as I wasn't part of STX directly. But yeah, still working on performance improvements in those areas. For STX 11, again, we're pursuing our version support for Kubernetes, and we're aiming to go all the way up to 1.33. So 1.33 is going to be tight within 11, but still advertising. Really want to get there so we get the maximum of upgrades in that area, and we will upgrade the other packages, Flux CD and Helm and KubeVirt, and all those are in progress. We're also trying to sort of figure out optimizations for upgrades. That way we can, make the upgrades of kubelets and Kubernetes, way faster, and really focusing on kubelet in this release. So one of them is to skip upgrades of kubelets when you have, the version SKU policy in place. And the other one is really to avoid the ability to avoid, host lock unlock, and host lock unlock, basically triggers, add a time to our to our upgrades. So we're trying to get optimizations to avoid that. So those are the main things that we'll be working on, but the team is fully engaged on completing this. So yeah, that's the quick overview of containers.
Thanks, Michelle. Anybody have any questions for Michelle on the container work? We probably need to update the governance files with respect to you taking over the project lead from Bruce.
Yeah,
Probably.
yeah, we definitely do. If I need to send a request, or let me know what I need to do, if anything.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, we can talk offline.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Next on my list is, I think Gad is going to cover for Steve on networking and also security.
Thanks, Greg. Let me just share my screen here. All right, so unfortunately, Steve is not able to join us today, but I will be presenting his slides on his behalf. So I'm just gonna click here. Get us started. Just go to the first slide. So this is basically a summary of the StarlingX 10 achievements. So these are initiatives and features that the networking team has worked on. IPv4, IPv6 dual stack networking support. This is a big feature that the team has been, has been on the radar for a while. So this allows users, if they wish, to have again both like a primary network configuration with like IPv4 or IPv6, but also have a secondary one if there are services that require the different IP addressing. Platform management network reconfig. This allows you to basically, before you had to reinstall the system if you needed to change the underlying management network configuration. This feature allows that change in a subset of cases without having to redeploy your system. We've also done, similar to other teams, a number of kind of versions and refreshes and maintenance work. So the CAT GPU plugin was updated to the latest version, which I think was 0.26.0. The Intel team also updated the SIR VFAC operator in STX 10 to 2.9.0. And we've done the CNIs to align with the Kubernetes versions that were supported, which is up to Kubernetes 1.29. In addition, application maintenance. So usually we do these if it's a StarlingX specific application, it's basically to refresh the images in order to pick the CVE fixes that the OS and security teams are putting in the host. So we've done that for PTP notification and the node interface metrics. These are both applications that are StarlingX, like they're built in StarlingX. And for upstream or community available applications, like outside of StarlingX, like Istio, what we would do is we pick, again, the latest version so that we have the up-to-date features and the CVEs. So in that case, that was done for the Istio and Kiali applications. So that's the work for STX 10. If I go to the next slide, for STX 11, you'll see a number of initiatives planned, some related to kind of new capabilities. Some are, again, application maintenance that we talked about, or component versions. So it'll be a mix of both. So in terms of new capabilities, maybe I'll cover that first. We have the platform. Oh, sorry, doesn't look very good. The platform network address reduction. So this basically to allow for saving the number of IP addresses that have to be allocated in address pool in order to configure a system. So there's work that's going to be done there. The other features that provide new capabilities is we're providing support for users to be able to configure their traffic bandwidth on the different platform networks. So based on user configuration data, we would apply rate limits on the different networks. There's work being done in the PTP domain. One of the biggest work done there is to be able to support the new Netlink API, which is available in new drivers from Intel, and that would allow for the support of the Granite Rapids D platform. Again, it's a new platform, hardware platform coming from Intel. So there's work being done there, and there are enhancements to the overall notification states for PTP. So those are new capabilities. Other than that, we're doing, again, updates. You'll see we'll do the SIR VFAC operator already. I think the Intel team has already done one update already, and they may be planning one more later in the year during the STX 11 timeframe. We're going to update PTP notification, the device plugins from Intel, Istio, and the node interface metrics. And then finally, we are doing some configuration around file permissions and such to be able to pass some of the standard CIS benchmarks that, you know, they're basically third-party tests and that identify security, I guess, weaknesses, if you will, some around kind of, again, file permissions and access. So we will be doing some work for that specifically related to the networking configuration. So that's the plan for STX 11. Most of these features have started or in progress, and they also appear on the planning sheet for StarlingX 11. With that, I'll go to the next slide and just reminds anybody, if anybody wants to join us, the networking team meets bi-weekly on Thursday at 9:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, or daylight, I guess. Our PL and TL is Steve Webster. There are no kind of changes in terms of governance or leadership there. All right, any questions?
Oh, this looks good. I know I say this every time, but I can't believe how we always have PTP work to do.
Always, yes. Yeah, we always do. It's a very active area. All right, okay, so do you want me to go to security next, Greg?
Yeah, thanks.
You can you can help me if we want to dig into a bit more of the features, but we do have slides for that as well, and it's similar format. Just taking a minute here. Okay, so there are no changes to our team for the security project. I continue to be the PL. Mitch Thibault is the technical lead. We focus on security-oriented hardening and feature capabilities, as well as the CVE and scanning vulnerability. These are our team members. As you can see, I mean, we have team members in China, Canada, Brazil, India. So we have quite a diverse team that contributes to this sub-project. We do meet on Mondays every other week on 9:30. It's by invite only since we cover CVEs. If anybody is interested in joining, of course, do reach out to me and we can include you. Similar updates. So one of the biggest features in STX10 for security is the implementation of IPsec on the platform network. So we now have encrypted traffic between the controllers and the two controllers, as well as any worker nodes, basically secured by IPsec on the management network. So that's one of the kind of more visible features for the release. We've also now enabled the use of Cert Manager by default on all new system deployments. So before, we used to deploy with a self-signed certificate, and then a user had a playbook or a tool where they can migrate themselves to Cert Manager if they want. But now for any new deployments, we are using Cert Manager basically out of the box. We've and in conjunction with that, we've introduced some improvements to just certificate CLIs and displays, and how users can determine what are their certificates in their system. There are also APIs that are available to request this data. Before, you could only get it by running a shell script and grepping and stuff like that. So now there is a more formal interface to get the certificate data from the system. We also implemented some additional password rules enhancements. So in terms of length and complexity of passwords, password history, how many you can keep, or I guess how many have to be unique before you can reuse, and a bunch of rules like that, again, in the context of increased security. And we've also implemented DTLS over the SCTP support All right. And other than that, again, similar to other teams, there are a bunch of containerized apps that provide different security functions. So all these were updated to be compatible with Kubernetes 1.28 and 1.29 in the SDX 10 timeframe. So this is the list of them. Any questions on 10, or Greg, anything highlights you want to add or kind of bring attention to?
No, I think it's good. Like you said, I think the major feature was the IPsec on the management network to kind of secure our internal traffic.
Yep, agreed. All right. What are we planning for STX 11? We are going to
Just going back for that for a second. So is the
Yes.
idea there to protect against what, unsecured installations?
For the management network?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of our users, did some like third party penetration type testing where they were pretty aggressive in putting a laptop on the management network and snooping
Right.
and that sort of thing. So they were kind of demanding kind of that we secure the internal traffic just because not all locations had physically secure switches
Right.
for the deployments.
Okay, cool.
All right. What are we doing for SDX 11? So we are going to extend support for IPsec. This will be configurable, so it's not going to be on by default, but users are going to be able to enable IPsec on their pod network traffic. That's going to be implemented through an IPsec policy manager. That will be an optional containerized application that a user can apply and basically configure their IPsec for their like payload type of traffic. Also implementing 3 enhancements in the area of user management. So it's we're going to implement some deletion restrictions. So before, we've seen use cases where somebody inadvertently deleted one of the privileged users, service users in the system, and ended up basically causing the system to be unusable. So we're going to do some deletion restrictions there. And in line with that, we're going to also do some operation confirmation. So users will be able to turn on operation confirmation, in which case, they'll be prompted to basically authorize, key operations. We're also implementing access control in Keystone, again, to limit like what kinds of operations can be done by different user roles. Greg, I don't know if you want to add anything about like this bunch of features together. Otherwise, I could just keep moving.
No, I think you covered it. Good.
Okay. All right. And next, we will do intermediate CA support. Maybe, Greg, do you mind if you can talk to this one a bit? I'm not fully up to date on it.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
This is really in today's implementation, the Kubernetes certificates are basically signed by an internal root CA that is automatically generated on our system. And so obviously that's not the ideal scenario. Most users want to basically link their certificates, even for Kubernetes, into their own PKI solution. So in order to do that, they really want the Kubernetes certificates to be signed by either an external or an internal intermediate CA. And so this work is to be able to support that. And Kubernetes does support it. And there's a variety of ways to do it. We're actually going to do it kind of by using HA proxy out in front of Kubernetes in order to get this intermediate CA certificate support for external Kubernetes access. But like I say, and again, this is needed because, typically users with external clients, if, they're using HTTPS securely, they have to trust root CAs, and by having an internally generated root CA signing the Kubernetes certificates makes it awkward, because especially in DC where you have thousands of subclouds, and the users would have to trust thousands of Kubernetes internal root CAs, which is obviously not usable sort of thing. So yeah, that's the main idea of this, is to kind of effectively link in the certificates being used to sign the Kubernetes certificates into the user's PKI system.
All right, thank you, Greg. I'll continue with what else we're working on, again in the same venue as on the networking team. We are looking at some miscellaneous changes again around file permissions and file locations to improve CIS benchmark testing scores. We'll do platform maintenance. So again, similar to STX 10, we're going to update all of these applications to new versions that are compatible with Kubernetes 130 to up to 133. All these, with the exception of audit, are upstream or community outside of the StarlingX community. They have their own cadences and releases, and we just picked the latest that would be compatible with the Kubernetes environment we are planning, except for Audit D, which is a StarlingX application. So that would just involve rebuilding and refreshing the images to pick up fixes. We're also going to do some prep work. I don't believe we'll be able to finish that work in the STX 11 timeframe, around replacement of HashiCorp Vault. So Vault has gone from an open source license to sort of business type license, or rather like non-open source. So we are now basically stuck or tied to the last open source version of Vault. There was a fork in the community with basically a group of people who have taken the open source Vault, and they have forked it to a new project called Open Bow, which continues to be open source, and they're maintaining CVEs and new releases and maybe some features as well. So we are gonna over time transition to that, so that again we can pick up new capabilities and fixes. So that's it. There are really no changes to CVE scanning. We continue to do a monthly scan and fix in the main branch, and we're focusing obviously on host Debian scan CVEs. That's it for me, Greg.
All
Are
right.
there any other questions?
Any questions for Gavin? Okay, thank you, Gavin. Next on my list is distributed cloud stuff with either Michelle or T. I don't know. I know Michelle's here.
Yeah, I'll go.
Okay, great.
Sure. Okay. I'm not sure what's going on with my display. Why is it displaying this way? In any case, so yeah, so I'm the project lead for distributed cloud, and T and Go is the TL. We basically have a good group of engineers developing in this area. We are basically, I think I'm just introduce again, I think everybody knows what we do, but we're really about central management and orchestration of distributed cloud for edge computing. So that's what we do, and we are involved in many aspects of the, everyday maintenance, zero touch provisioning, day two reconfig, or orchestration, patching, backup and restore, firmware and Kubernetes subversioning and rehoming, geo-redundancy. Our latest, big focus has been really on scalability, and that's what you'll see in our accomplishments. So yeah, two basic big areas, or three, I would say three basic big areas. So we introduced 6 features, but the main new areas that we've introduced are centered around USM. So Flock Services, Jim Beacom advertised, that we've introduced this new USM framework, and the distributed cloud, adaptation required quite a bit of work to support that. So that was quite a bit of big accomplishment that we achieved in the end of last year and a bit early this year. The next area is of big progress was the subcloud enrollment feature. So basically allows you to pre-stage a subcloud and then enroll into, a distributed cloud configuration as a whole. And that's a feature that's been, in high demand, and it's already starting to be trialed and used at customer sites. So lots of good feedback on that one. So big accomplishment there. The third big area, I would say, it was a scalability improvement. We've increased our scalability of number of subclouds to be managed, from 1,000 to 5,000 subclouds, and we also allow parallel operation up to 2,500 subclouds, and this is a big achievement, and it's also ready to be used by our customers. Those are the big 3 ones. We also introduced ORAN support. I think this was introduced in previous release, but we had a feature that continued our compliancy for IMS and DMS interfaces for O2. So those were the big achievements for the DC team for STX10. For STX11, we are still in the march to even push further on our scalability. So the goal is to double what we've achieved in the previous release. We'll see if we get there during that time frame, but it's certainly an area where the team is really heavily invested in working and supporting for STX11. So we're really trying to get to 10,000 subcloud support. So of course, we're continuing managing our ORAN application, as mentioned before. And we have, a lot of requests, to enhance our subcloud enrollment. As I mentioned in the previous slide, we have the subcloud enrollment is triggering, lots of new good ideas to enhance this. So that's one area that we will probably improve to be able to use the cloud init configuration, during a subcloud enrollment. The last bullet is really about we're investigating. So this is a long lead feature, and I just want to advertise it a little bit, where we are intending to sort of quote unquote containerize the distributed cloud solution, so to make it portable and deployable on remote sites. So really the distributed cloud orchestration and management would be exported out kind of thing. So that is a huge endeavor, I would say. So it's a long lead feature. So we're starting to work on it, and we're still trying to figure out, which exact releases it's going to land. But we will make a lot of progress during STX 11. So that's probably one of the reasons why the feature list is smaller. So we're investing heavily in that. So that's a quick overview, I would say. Yeah, I still haven't. I want to resurrect. I think I mentioned that last time, but I want to resurrect, a regular meeting so we could have, more feedback from the community directly for DC. So, anyways, that's still on my action list to resurrect these sub-project bi-weekly meetings. So I'll leave it at that. Any questions for me?
Only one question I had was you mentioned that how you're increasing from 5,000 to 10,000 subclouds. Do you have to also increase your parallel operations as part of that, or is that going to
Yes.
stay at 2,500?
Yeah, we will increase the parallel operations accordingly.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, that's the requirement. So it's the challenge, I would say. Yes.
Okay, great.
So does that fundamentally change the architecture to gain the extra performance, or is it more just a matter of trying to optimize the existing architecture?
It changes the internal architecture. So we're making changes to the DC orchestrator and also how we interact, for example, for security using Keystone and those kinds of, interactions. So yes, there is some architecture change, but I think it's fairly internal, if I should say it this way.
Yep.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Michelle? Okay, thanks, Michelle.
Thank you.
Next on my list, I got the build guys. I think I saw Scott on here.
I'm here.
Did you have a quick update on the build team or project?
Let's see. ARM servers, as you will know, are still stuck in the States. They haven't made it to Canada.
I think we're getting way closer though. Although I was nagging them. I think they have all the paperwork now, but I don't know what's holding it up. I'll continue to chase them down, but frustrating.
In 10, we attempted a feature to use RAM disks to accelerate builds. Its payoff was not as huge as we had hoped, largely because most of our build servers are now NVMe drives. And we had a lot of issues with the engineering of the size of the RAM disk, just because of Helm and Kubernetes and whatnot. There's not good visibility between builds of how much each one is trying to reserve for their RAM disks, and there was competition and RAM starvation and build issues was largely turned off for now, at least. For 11, there is a desire to support upgrading secure boot certificates, since they tend to have validity date ranges which may be expiring. And in order to do that, it now looks like we are going to have to support multiple signing of the various elements involved in the secure boot. So there'll be changes to the build system around that to allow you to specify multiple keys that can be used to sign components.
Is that to allow for multiple expiry dates, or?
In order to support a transition from the old expiry date to the new date.
Yep.
So various components in EFI can be multiply signed. So you can sign with the old key and the new key, which will allow for a smooth transition, a smooth upgrade. If you don't have multiply signed things, there's just a hard wall. There's the old world and the new world, and no one can talk to each other's keys. There's a lot of ideas about how to improve the build. I'm not sure if anything is going to materialize for 11. One seems to be a resurrection of the concept of layering, but perhaps finer grained. If you recall, we had layered builds in CentOS. So we had like a distinct OS layer. Then the main StarlingX layer, and then the OpenStack layer on top of that. So I think a more finer grained set of layers has been talked about. I'm pretty sure it's not going to land for 11. So just early planning on that. What else? We've created 2 new branches and builds to support long-running features. One Trixie, the other Portable DC, Distributed Cloud. So you'll see those being reported on as feature branches on our weekly thing. They'll build weekly over the weekend. I'm expecting to be creating some tools to support merging between feature branches and the master branch, because we know these features are going to run a long time. They're going to run past 11 probably and not deliver till 12. So keeping them up to date with the evolution of the master branch is going to be an issue. And of course, we span like 60 some odd gets. There is a desire to completely rework the reuse of previous builds. I have some ideas there requiring how we store our compiled artifacts on the web server, so that you can basically generate a hash based on the source code and just look up what was built from that source code. Oh, there it is. I can kind of pick and choose, so we're not tied to either use from one build, but you can use anyone who's built this hash, software hash. We can grab that artifact. Again, this is not something that's going to land in 11. It doesn't look like. That's all I can think of. Sorry, no slides.
Okay, no problem. I made some notes in the Etherpad as you were chatting. So, any questions for Scott around build?
Yes, otherwise it's just been stability work, adding retries to various places where we have to pull content from the internet. Okay. Debian's been a bit of a pain. They love to drop our connections mid-download. We've never figured out why that's occurring, but trying has helped.
Okay, if there's not any other questions for Scott, we'll the next project on the list is the test project with Rob. I think Rob's here.
I am here, Greg. I still can't seem to upload files to the share, but I have slides that I will present.
Okay, you can send the slides to me. I don't know why you have trouble with those Google folders.
Yeah, I'm getting farther. It's attempting it this time. I'm not getting error message, but it just sits there and tries to upload, and never really finishes.
Yeah. Google doesn't like you.
Add to the list. All right, sorry. Get myself in slide share mode here. Give me 1 second. Share button. All right, I think you can see that now.
Not yet.
Oh yeah, I have to hit share twice. Gosh.
You have to hit share twice.
In Zoom, you have to hit share twice. Do you see it now?
Yep.
Do you see the PowerPoint slide presentation mode or the other mode?
Full
No.
screen.
Full screen. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Very good. So 10.0, so Sanity. So we continue to execute Sanity for argument's sake on a weekly basis. Some exceptions here and there, but that was the goal and that was the primary outcome. So we did that for both platform and OpenStack. We continue to do the Sanity executions on both SX and DX configurations. So that goes well. In terms of the feature testing for 10.0, so we had 45 features that were explicitly tested. Some got tested through regression and things like that, but explicitly tested with manual execution of just over 1,400 test cases with a 97.4% pass rate. Fun fact, I was when I was creating these slides, I was basing them off a template from 9.0. We had the same pass rate in 9.0 that we had in 10.0 across our features. Link there to the feature tracking spreadsheet in the Google Docs so that you can see any detail if you like around each of the features and the number of tests executed and things like that. From a regression perspective, so this is the automated regression that we execute a couple times near the end of the release. So 441 tests for SX with 100% pass rate and 386 tests for DX with, again, 100% pass rate. Again, I provide the link there to the bottom to some details around those test titles and things like that and their statuses. For 11.0, so test planning, so Sanity. So again, we're going to continue to plan to do the weekly execution for Sanity. Both AIOSX and DX systems will continue to be in the mix. We're going to be deploying a new framework, which if you looked at the agenda, we're going to be talking about in the next little bit. So we have a presentation of what that looks like. We have upstream the framework and the testing. So that's coming. So we'll be looking to leverage that framework for our Sanity executions. And while I'm there for regression as well, so we're jumping to the last bullet on the slide, we'll continue to run our regression, but look to leverage, again, the new framework for that execution. So we'll do that for 11.0. From the feature testing perspective, I think you've seen lots of updates from all the feature teams on the features that are coming down the pipeline. So the test team is engaged on those, looking at planning to the testing exercises as those features mature. So that's in progress right now. And that's pretty much the high-level update. I think the key focus is the presentation we're going to have in a little bit around the framework. I think there'll be some interest in that. So looking forward to that. So that's pretty much it from a test perspective, unless there's questions.
I think we're good. Thanks, Rob.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, next on my list is actually docs. Juanita couldn't make it, but she did send me her slides. Let me see if I can share. Share. Okay, you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so the doc team, I'm actually the project lead, Juanita's technical lead. And actually the doc team is growing. I think it used to be just Juanita and Ron. Elisa and Millie joined a few releases ago, and they've had some recent ads with Susanna and Matthew. So it's good the team is growing. They basically work jointly with the developers with respect to producing the StarlingX docs, and that includes both the docs, the core docs, as well as they do some work in the contributor guides as well. The doc team itself is probably more in the doc contributor guides, but so as far as what they've got done in the last quarter is basically they had a big push to get the StarlingX 10 docs actually released. Some of the key, I guess, enhancements besides just, feature updates in the docs is that they did some enhancement work in the distributed cloud guide, in the security guide, as well as some updates in the REST API reference guide. And In addition to that, they increased some product verification of the docs by the test team. I think by working with the test team and ensuring that they were, reviewing and testing. I think they were focused on the procedural portions of the docs. And then, as always, the doc team is pretty good at chasing down and getting the key and applicable developers to review the doc reviews that are produced. As far as stats, I think there was around 200 Garrett reviews, and for release. Well, I think that's overall Garrett reviews, both release and defect type work, and I think there was probably 100 defects that were looked at for SDX 10. As far as new stuff they're looking at, I think Ron is continually kind of trying to tweak the build tools that are used. I think it's primarily Sphinx that's used for building the docs. There's some continued enhancements on the CLI commands. They're looking at auto-generating the CLI commands from either the code or online help, as well as there's been work on improving the REST API updates. Some other there is some hope to look at reorganizing some of the StarlingX docs. We did some reorganization of one area, the security guide, and I think that was helpful. So we may look at the same sort of thing in some of the other guides. There's also a push around some of our users being more enterprise type users as opposed to telco type users. So there's a look at, okay, what do we need to improve to address kind of the more enterprise type users. So I think that's an area as well. The other for SDX 11, I think, I don't know if there's actually 50 features in our release thing, but there always is a fair number of features that are planned for SDX 11. So the doc team will continue to help out and work with the appropriate developers to produce the doc changes related to those features, and then of course ongoing they'll do we continue to get the launch pads with respect to either bug fixes or enhancement requests around the docs. So they're constantly looking at those as well. And they do hold a regular meeting every Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern. And so you're welcome to join that as well. Any questions on the doc stuff? Okay. Let me stop that. And then the last project, last but not least, is the release team with Gavin.
All right. Okay, let me share again. All right, can people see the slide?
Yep.
All right, so just info on the team, really no changes since the last PTG. Our focus is to plan, coordinate, release content and schedule and advise on processes or best practices as needed. Various contributors from PLs and feature primes. I didn't list everybody here, to myself and the build team, the docs, Greg as a representative of TSC and Rob as a representative of TEST. We meet bi-weekly on Wednesdays just before the community call. The meetings are public, so feel free to join us if you would like to. And we have an Etherpad, we have wikis on just releases and cadence and plans and dates and such. And we put planning sheets in Google. All right, so I don't know. I will not fully go over everything here because every team is already presented, and so everyone has shared what their highlights were for STX10. I'll just point out that, of course, this release was completed February 26. It was, you know, more than a year in the making. So you'll see milestone 1 was in May 2024, with other milestones into 2024. But the release, if you look at our plans and forecasts and actuals, you'll see that it kind of shifted right to about February 2025. And in general, I think when we hit the kind of November zone, it becomes very difficult for, I think, the community with vacations and everything else to get a release out in year in December. So that's why this kind of shifted. But that being said, there was quite a bit of features again to I know that that was highlighted also in the docs presentation. So the release in numbers was around 49 features. That's based on the planning spreadsheet. Sometimes there are small enhancements or capabilities that go in directly with launch pads or even storyboards that maybe, so the number could be a bit bigger than that. I also did a search on the launch pads that were fixed, and there were about 712 launch pads across various teams that were done. For your perusal, I won't go over it here. There is just a list of the highlights from every sub-project team or domain. So it is here if anybody is interested. But again, like I said, we covered all that. I'll go to the next plan for STX 11. So I just want to put in first, I'll put in a plug and say we have a planning spreadsheet, has some dates. Thank you to everybody who has put in kind of their candidate list. Our next step here is to start to get some dates, because before without having an idea of when you think code and testing will be done, we're not going to be able to finalize the release dates. So as it stands today, these are the release dates. We did achieve milestone 1 just at the end of March. We're looking at milestone 2 is sort of a checkpoint, so I don't worry too much about it. But milestone 3 is the one where we want to have pretty much the majority of the code, except for exceptions, for features or new capabilities to be in the main branch. So I'm gonna keep going here. So right now, the tentative date at milestone 1, when we didn't have any other kind of bottom up data yet for the features, was in early July. But if I look here, and I want to share this with you because it's even a bigger list than STX10, the number of proposed features in the planning spreadsheet currently sit at 68. 47 are expected to be in. So when a feature prime marks a feature as in, it means, you know, they feel confident that they would be able to make it happen, or they want to make it happen. We have 9 that are tagged as partial or prep. So what that means is that code will go in, but you won't actually have the capability. It'll be like a 2 release feature, kind of using back some terminology that Michelle has used, would be like long lead. It's so usually what the only ask we have is that for that code to be benign and not cause stability or sanity issues. We have 9 in that category, and we have 12 that are marked as TBD, which means teams and primes are looking at them and want to you know, consider them, but maybe they don't have a plan yet, or it's kind of too early in the investigation phase. And I'll just again remind everybody that features can be added or taken out pretty much at any time in the release. We have that flexibility. So it is not unusual at this stage that we would have some TBDs or some partials and preps. All right, so the other thing, so I'll say what we need as a next step is we need to start looking at those dates, because those will be the ones that will give us confidence. Can we actually make summer, end of summer deliverable here? Just
So
looking.
do we want those dates for milestone 2?
Well, I mean, milestone 2 is, well, sorry, the criteria is documented, so I always just refer back to it. Let's just check what milestone 2 is. Milestone 2, okay, we don't have spec freeze. I should just scratch this out. I mean, it says we haven't done that since 2021. I'll scratch that.
Okay.
So what milestone 2 is that we have feature plans and we have a feature plan designed. So, I mean, I'm open here. I hope and that within the next month, because that's what milestone is. Milestone is
Yeah,
at the end of April, so I guess 3 more weeks. So we have good participation here, so I'm happy to hear from you guys whether you think your dates and plans will be there for in a month from now. So not to pick on anybody, but Jim, Michelle, Kalash, I don't think is here. It's too late for him. Okay, myself, I preach my own medicine, so I've put my dates in, but just before, in preparation for the PTG. So you'll see I have dates already, and I'll talk about these a little bit. We need from the storage team, Renata, I don't know if she's there. Talis, I think he was here earlier. We also don't have the dates. So I don't know. What does everybody think? Can we get the dates? That's really what we would need. Dates from the PLs for the features and kind of a high level plan from the test team. So Rob and others, what do you guys think? Do you think we can make it? Or do we want to push a little bit?
Well, from my side, it looks feasible.
Okay. Others? Again?
The 23rd, I think so. At least for Flock, that's a reasonable goal.
Okay. All right. And is Michelle still here? Because
Yeah,
he
I'm
also
on.
has a few. Do you feel
Yeah.
that is feasible for you?
Yes.
Okay, super.
Let's,
All right.
let's work towards that. Yep.
Yeah. So that's what we'll do. Milestone 2 will look at everybody here would have, actually, it's only 2 more weeks. It's not 3. I don't even know, I guess, what date it is today. It's 2 more weeks to get the plan dates and the kind of high level test a plan defined. And Rob, you are okay with that?
I think it's a stretch, but I think it's an objective. Let's aim for it.
I'm happy for us to say, okay, well, let's give ourselves a week now and we can just do it now. Like it won't, it's really just, I think as a community here, we've been flexible on these kinds of things. I think we want each team to get the time they need to, do the right things, do the right investigations, come back with more confident plans. So do you want to add an extra week, Rob? I don't think it'll be an issue at all. We can do it right now. Or if you need more than 1 week, we can add more than 1 week.
I mean, I'm okay with pushing it out to the 30th.
Okay.
I think it'll give these guys, give the guys more time to get all the dates. So.
All right. So I am going to do All right, sorry, I'm gonna do this. There we go. Oh, it did it for me and I rejected it. It's not good.
You can do it again and it'll.
Can I? Let's see. No. No, it's over. I think if I do this though, think. Yeah, go. I want to also talk about milestone 3, but I think we'll talk about it in when we have more dates, and we'll see what, how many. It's all about percentages. Like if 90% of the features will be ready by July, or some number that we're comfortable with, then we'll keep milestone 3 at this date. If not, then we may need to consider. So and again, I'm going through this because I know that not everybody here comes to the release planning meeting. So I'm just trying to kind of share some of the logic that we apply. So if I just do this here, so that you guys have an idea, so you'll see, I mean, we have a date in September here. Oh, sorry, my apologies. I'll look at I meant to do the code merge because that's what milestone 3 is. So you'll see we have stuff in April, but we also have stuff in August. We have some stuff in July. So if I'm reading the tea leaves, and I've done many of these releases already, my guess, but we will wait until milestone 2. My guess is that this date here will move into, like, maybe by a few weeks as well, which will bring this later, maybe in September, but let's wait and see. Any questions for me? I think this is basically all I had. I mean, I do have a summary here of the release as well, but again, that's just using the information you guys have provided previously and in your slides. So I'll just leave it at that, and I won't just repeat in the interest of time.
All right, thanks, Gada.
All right. I will
Okay.
stop sharing.
Okay, so I think we got through all the projects. Thanks very much for everybody for doing that. The last planned item on our agenda is to get the update from Rob's team on the StarlingX test framework. I think Jason or Christian are gonna walk us through what they've done.
Absolutely. I'm Christian. I've been working on the automation framework here with Jason. And this is kind of what the StarlingX test project was looking before we started. There used to be some test cases in development back in the CentOS days, but as you can see, the project was essentially dead. So we decided to come in, clean up the slate, do a big wipe, and start with new StarlingX automation framework, which has gotten a lot of commits. As you can see, 5 pages of commits since. So it's gone from dead to super active. And you can get the information. Oh, actually, I've lost the page. But we have our setup instructions that are available here, as well as some ideas on how to get started and contribute if you want to join in on the project. We'll give a little bit of an overview with some code demonstration as to what are some of the core principles. So in order to enable the open source community to run those test cases, there's a lot of things that had to be abstracted out into different configurations. In particular, you want to point to a lab and be able to run. The lab configuration is where you'll want to start. You put in the floating IP of your lab, the admin credentials, the SSH port if it's non-default. And for the purposes of my demo, I'll be running against a VirtualBox VM. Yes, so there's a lot of information here about the capabilities. And because we have a bunch of different test cases with different requirements, for example, we have test cases that run on duplex systems, some that require different network cards, or some that runs on distributed cloud system, we can't run every test case on every system. And these lab capabilities allow us to identify what are those requirements on the lab, and does my lab have those capabilities required to run those test cases. I can see some of my test cases here requires that my lab has a worker, for example. And while these configs can be manually edited, it's a bit of a pain to do so, especially as we grow that list of required configuration. So we've developed a lab capability scanner that, given the floating IP of your lab, is actually going to run a bunch of API requests against that lab and generate that half of the config. So it's going to pick up all the different hosts in your lab, especially if it's a DC lab. It's going to scan subclouds and pick up all the capabilities of all the hosts that are required for your automation. So here I've gone ahead and I've generated this for my virtual lab. So with the scanner in place, what does the test case look like? So I've put in a small test case here. That's part of the Sandy suite. And I should mention that we have a nice Sandy suite that's already implemented and what used to be referred to as daily regression. So we have those test cases all in place in this new StarlingX test framework, which we like to refer to as ACE. Yes, and regression test cases are starting to trickle in as this is the go forward framework, and we're getting more and more commit activity in that repo. So let's look at this test case, test nginx ingress controller. We're going with a very object-oriented approach, and we're trying to abstract things out of the setup. So your test case doesn't have a ton of setup behind the scenes through fixtures. What you see here is what the test case does, starting with the SSH connection to the lab and running some commands. All our keywords are objects, all our return values are objects. And I can show you in real time why we want to go with that model. One of the hardest things with automation is not writing the test cases. It's not building those keywords. It's analysis and figuring out what goes wrong. So we've put a lot of time building comprehensive logging that's going to log everything from every keyword that gets called with the parameters that it gets called with. We also have info logs, whether you're running, whether you just want to add some logging to your automation. And we also have the SSH level of logging that shows you exactly what happened on the system. So you have all three levels, and you can easily identify what happened at which level. For example, here I'm running system application list, getting our good old table that everybody's used to. I'm running application list, and there's a weird exception here that you should completely disregard. This is PyCharm in debug mode that likes to throw those, but there's no actual exception here. This is not the exception you're looking for, as a Jedi would say. And looking here in debug mode, we can see that we have an output object. And we've kind of split our keywords into three layers. We have the keyword itself that holds the commands. For example, system host CPU list, in this case, with no wrap and the host name. So that's just the actual command. Then we have our output objects that essentially mimic this table and parse that table into an object that represents each individual line. So my host CPU list output object, for example, contains a list of all the different CPUs. So I have 4 entries each one, Intel Core platform, each one of those is really just matching one of these lines. And once I have that output object, I can start asking it different questions without having to run the command again. For example, I can ask it, get me the number of processors. And there's only processor 0, so my processor count is 1. Or I can ask it, get me the host with the log core 0. So log core 0 is going to return me this host. I've misnamed my variable, but this is that particular host. We can see thread 0, processor 0, physical code 0, the assign function, all mapping to that specific row. So we have all that information. It avoids us making multiple calls to the command line to get different views on the same information. We can do that all via Python objects. So clean logging, nice object-oriented approach. And we've also gone with a lot of stability on the lower layer libraries. For example, our SSH library, our REST API, and our web framework libraries all have stability built in. More specifically, on the SSH library, if we lose the connection to the lab during an action, we're going to retry getting that connection back automatically behind the scenes. So stability, readability are some of the core principles of this new framework. On that topic, we've also built a set of unit test cases for this project. So we are running right now 145 unit tests that ensure that our core functionality is not broken. In particular, some of these table parsers. It often happens that you're like, oh, this new table is slightly different and the old parsing doesn't work. And then you tweak the table and you want to make sure that you haven't broken the 50 other use cases that you had for it. And unit test cases are fantastic for that. Also making sure that our configurations work nicely. We are starting to creep a little bit on our configurations. But as long as your lab configuration is set, you should be able to run the majority of things. And we also have configuration by defaults. So we're hoping that default values are going to work for most people. Then in terms of other benefits, so we've also built a REST framework as part of this. So not only can you call CLI, but you can make REST commands. It handles authenticating and getting that OAuth token, as well as parsing those responses. We're following the same principle. We're trying to get everything in objects, where you're going to have an object for every host when you're calling iHosts, and your output object that you can ask questions when you're getting that list of objects back. So we're kind of abstracting out the JSON responses into those objects. And we're trying to unify and use the same objects between the CLI and the API, so that it doesn't matter which one you're calling, you're getting that same object back and you can ask it the same questions. And it doesn't really matter where it came from, which allows you to do your setups much faster by making direct calls to the APIs and executing the rest of the test case through CLI if that's what you want to test. In the same way, we also have a web-based framework built around stability based on top of Selenium, but with the added in-house conditions that provide stability. So basically, you can do any kind of operation and add a condition to it or a set of conditions, and it's going to perform that action until that condition is met. So stale element exceptions are a bane of Selenium users, or the element's not loaded yet. The framework handles all of these timing issues with ease, as long as you make use of the conditions to tell it, well, just wait for that state to happen. If you misclick, that's okay. Framework is going to click it again until you get the expected output. So we have REST, we have CLI, we have web, we have some sanity test cases implemented, and all that all that it's missing is more contributors, and to keep on pushing the needle forward as we get this cool project alive and push it forward in the future. And that's about it for my presentation on the new StarlingX test framework. Are there any questions or comments?
So are we using this test framework and this test suite for our regular StarlingX build sanity testing now?
Uh, I don't think
We're
trying to think.
yeah, we're in the middle of switching over to it.
Yeah.
So that is something that I think we'll have put in place probably this week.
Yeah, so it's not fully cut over yet, Greg. We're in the process. But for 11.0, that is the plan for both sanity and regression. We will be using this framework.
Ah, excellent.
Yeah, we have been using the Sandy for the cloud platform project in house for a while, and for whatever runs we do in house on StarlingX builds, we do use this framework in those test cases, and have been using for I want to say about a month now.
Yeah, and you have test suites both for sanity and regression?
Sanity is, I'm going to say, complete with an asterisk, because sanity is never complete, always needs to be reviewed and improved. But we have an existing sanity suite in place. Regression is starting. So what we had called daily regression is there in the old sense, but not our big complete regression. We're just starting on migrating some test cases, and it's more a go forward direction.
Okay. This is excellent, guys, because I know, I forget when it was, a couple of releases ago, where I know Wind River was having trouble doing some of this testing, and we were looking for people in the community to do this, and it was an issue that our tests and our test framework weren't upstream. So this is a big step forward. Thanks very much for kind of looking at this. Any other questions for Christian or?
Yeah, I have a quick just confirmation type one. I also want to join you, Greg, to say that this is pretty cool and great to have. So do I understand it correctly that the idea is to use this framework more in, I don't know, sort of downstream local lab testing, and it's not something that is going to be run upstream in the Zool and OpenDev infrastructure and framework? Is my understanding accurate?
Yes. So this isn't run automatically on the build. It's meant to be run. Well, the test cases, being CLI test cases, take a while to run. We are running them internally right now as part of our development processes on a daily basis. But they are meant to be picked up by anyone who wants to establish their own CI/CD pipelines or ad hoc testing, and should be able to configure them in their local environment to run against it. We also have a runner in place that allows you to batch run those test cases and pick test cases that are applicable for your lab environment.
Awesome. Great. Thank you for confirming. Maybe once you have it in place, I think this would be an excellent candidate to put some information on the blog about, just so that people know that this exists and how they can use it. That would be great. If anyone is up for.
Yeah, I agree.
Ask.
Okay, this would be a good blog topic.
Yeah, like a quick how-to or something, how to get started with it or something along those lines would be great. Great article.
Yeah, we can take an action there. I think that's fair.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, well, we've actually come to the end of our agenda. Unless there was any other last minute items anybody wanted to bring up. Okay, I want to thank everybody for coming. We got actually really good participation from across all the projects, and thanks to Rob's team for kind of giving us an update on their work on the StarlingX test framework. And yeah, I just want to remind everybody about yeah, keep moving forward on the STX 11 milestones as far as getting the dates done and getting into kind of development mode for the STX 11 features, because from what you guys kind of presented, it's looking like we got a good set of features for STX 11. Anyways, thanks. Sorry, go ahead.
Just a quick one. I also want to thank everyone for participating, and just want to say that the project team updates are really useful. So thank you all for doing them, and I really loved the test framework demo as well. I will type up a blog post hopefully this week and aiming to get it published beginning of next week. I will send out the link to the review once I have it written up, and I would appreciate just a few eyes on it to make sure that I got the things right. So yeah, there will be an PTG overview blog post coming.
Excellent. Thanks for doing that, Ildiko. All right. Well, if nobody else had any final thoughts, just thanks again, and yeah, our regular community meetings will start up again next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.